Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Salamangreat Yugioh deck profile for post-Legacy of Destruction. We got the new Code of Soul monster as an OCG import in the latest Yu-Gi-Oh! Booster set, so I wanted to update Salamangreats. I actually got second at locals with this build, so I was very happy with it. There may be a couple things I changed with it. I did some playtesting, there were some things I liked, but some things I didn't, and with Salamangreat being one of my main decks that I currently play at locals, very happy with the results. I ended up winning the prize card for getting second as well, because they had them for top two. So once again, very happy with this. Very awesome Silent Magician level 0. And with the deck, Code of Soul just adds so much more playstyle. We can incorporate the new, or not new, it's an older Link monster, Pyro Phoenix, into the deck for some shenanigans, I couldn't put it any other way, during our opponent's turn, which I'll go over as well in the video. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. For the new monster, we are running 3 copies of Code of Soul. While it is a Salamangreat support card, it sadly does not have Salamangreat in its name, so it also made us change a few other things we run in the deck. But with Code of Soul, if you control a Link monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can activate this effect once per turn. If you Link summon a Salamangreat Link monster, you can use one Salamangreat Link monster you control with the same name as its entire material. And during your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Immediately after this effect resolves, Link summon one Link through your Cyberse Link monster. You can only use this effect of Code of Soul once per turn. So this play comes in the form of being able to use Pyro Phoenix now to a much better extent by being able to Link summon into another Pyro Phoenix on your opponent's turn, and then destroy all the cards they have on their field. Because when it's Link summon using Salamangreat Pyro Phoenix, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. So having an interruption like this on your opponent's turn makes it all the better, but also being able to perform the ability of Salamangreat Sanctuary, which is our field spell, twice in one turn, means we can also make use of the recycle play on our own turn using cards like Sunlight Wolf, and then being able to use Raging Phoenix as well all in one turn. We're also running 3 copies of Salamangreat Gazelle. Some of the choices I make in the deck definitely do come into play for the fact that I have 3 Gazelle to run again. So we have the consistency to at least have a better chance of opening up this card in our hand, but we also have Salamangreat Circle to help with this play also. It has the special summon play if a Salamangreat monster is sent to your graveyard, except for Gazelle, being able to special summon from the hand and then also send one Salamangreat card from your deck to the graveyard. So you can set up your Salamangreat spell or traps to add back to your hand, or you can send a needed Salamangreat monster to the graveyard as well. One of those better choice of monsters being Salamangreat Spinny, having the send effect from your hand to give another Salamangreat card on the field 500 attack, and then if you control a Salamangreat monster, being able to special summon it back from the graveyard. It's your go-to play with Gazelle, being able to then use the 2 to overlay into Mirage Stalio, and then have another special summon off of this card as well. And also the one-ofs for the deck. I'm running 1 copy of Salamangreat of Fire. I may not even run this in the deck anymore with the plays that we run in the deck, depending on what you want to go for, but I have 1 copy in for now, and it's a searcher. It just adds a Salamangreat level 4 or lower monster when it's normal or special summon, and you can banish it at the start of damage step to destroy a monster that you control that battled, and then just making use of some of the other cards we run in the deck for those plays. Jack Jaguar for the special summon and recycle power of our other Salamangreat cards from the graveyard. Foxy for the spell and trap destruction, special summon from the graveyard as well. Weasel for the special summon from the hand, and then making use of giving our opponent a resource for us to be able to bounce with Stalio. Falco for the spell and trap add back and special summon from the graveyard. And I also run 1 Salamangreat Mirror just to have another option when adding cards off of Circle to be able to special summon onto the field, which I also like, so it at least gives us a monster target if we were to then special summon from our graveyard the Promethean Princess, so we have a monster target to at least be able to use on the field also. And then our other Cyberse monster that we run, I run 3 Lady Debug. I'm back to running this card in the deck just because of Code of Soul now. So we have a way to search this card out even faster now. Like I said, Salamangreat of Fire cannot search out Code of Soul since it's not a Salamangreat monster, but Lady Debug can. And we can still go for the exact same play into Battle Links and then have a special summon of Code of Soul from our hand to the field. And also, it doesn't really cut into the Salamangreat of Fire play because we can always go in for the Lady Debug play first, and then Salamangreat of Fire just goes for then for the rest of the turn. You cannot special summon except for fire monsters. So we can even just summon fire later on off of Mirage Stalio if we wish. And then for my hand trap lineup, I run 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, the 3 copies of DD Crow, and then also the 2 copies of Effect Failure. I ran Nibiru and Droll in my side deck. Those are just preferences though. If you want to main deck Nibiru and Droll and Lockbird, you can always swap out some of the other spots for my hand trap lineups here in the deck, but that is player preference on what you want to use. I was just using these based on the majority of what was run at my locals as well, with Graveyard effects being a major one there. That's why I decided to main deck the DD Crow. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 copies of Salamangreat Circle, just another great searcher in the deck. It cannot search, sadly, Code of Soul, but it can search out any of the other Salamangreat cards, so I can add Gazelle off of this card, or any of the one-ofs that I run as well if I already have some of the other needed play cards in my hand. And for the one-ofs for the spells, 1 copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary, which can be searched off of Battle Links, so you only need the 1, and the 1 copy of Will of the Salamangreat. It just gives you more resources to use, especially when you can use the Reincarnated Special Link Summon, or if you just need that additional monster resource, it does not target, so you can have more options to grab a monster from your hand or the graveyard back onto the field to reuse. I'm also back to running Signet Mining. I've been on and off with this card, but I do like it in the deck. I would always side it out if I was going first, just so then, I had more of an option for side deck cards and not the risk of going into an Ash Blossom play. But still, this card helped to be able to search out cards like Code of Soul once again. If I sent a Salamangreat monster from my hand and had Gazelle to begin with already, then I just had another special summon from Gazelle resource to rely on the field also. And then for the lower numbers for the spells, 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talent and the 1 copy of Call by the Grave, just for more graveyard disruption. And if I had to deal with the Signet Mining play, at least I would have a way to at least draw into more cards or even look at my opponent's hand. And then for the traps, 1 copy of Salamangreat Roar and the 1 copy of Salamangreat Rage, having the counter trap option and being able to reset this card on the field as a play for Roar, and with Rage being able to just destroy multiple cards or even just the 1 by sending a Salamangreat card, all searchable as well off of cards like our Salamangreat Raging Phoenix and then the add back power of Sunlight Wolf. And then lastly for the traps, just 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence along with the Ash Blossom lineup, just having this as another added option of being able to disrupt any of my opponent's plays during their own turn without having even any of the risks of Triple Tactics Talent when I do so with this first. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extract. I run 3 copies of Salamangreat Battle Links. When it's Link Summon, you can add 1 Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand. And if a Salamangreat card would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So protection options, but one of your go-to definite plays, because you can also just make this card with your Lady Debug, just needing 1 level 4 lower Cyberse monster. And once again, using the search for our Code of Soul, we'll have the Link monster on the field to then just be able to summon this card out onto the field as well. And I also run 2 copies of Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf. I reduced this to 2, but it can honestly be 3 if you want to just run 2 of the next lineup I run. When something summoned to its arrow, you can add a fire monster back from your graveyard to your hand. This includes our hand trap Ash Blossom as well, if need be. But most of the time I can go just for more resources, because you can't use the monster you add back off of this card the same turn you add it back, but also being able to use the Reincarnated Link option as a way to grab back our Salamangreat Speller Traps from the graveyard also. I run 3 copies of Salamangreat Raging Phoenix. This just might be a preference of mine to run. If you only want to run 2, then you could put in a 3rd copy of Sunlight Wolf. It's just player preference with this choice. You just have immense search power with this card. And once again, with me using the Reincarnation Link play on my own turn, if I have a Code of Soul in the graveyard, I can use the Banish option as long as I have my Salamangreat Sanctuary on the field to then have another search even during my opponent's turn. But the main disruption play comes in the form of Salamangreat Pyro Phoenix, going for the same setup as I mentioned before with Raging Phoenix, but with this one, going for that Link Summon play to be able to destroy all the cards in my opponent's field, even made more disruptive when I can do it during their own turn when I banish Code of Soul during their main phase. And then for the rest of the Link monsters, I run 1 copy of Hida the Fire Charmer. I like this in the deck, especially if my opponent tries to Ash Blossom me. I can still go for the Link 2 option with this card, and then just take their Ash Blossom, and then be able to go into Promethean Princess, and still have a Link 4 play to go into, with the last card being SP Little Knight. Running Little Knight is my justification on why I don't want to run Salamangreat of Fire. I can make everything else in the extract except for SP Little Knight, but with other cards, even if I go into Mirage Stallion, I just can't use fire effects for the rest of the turn that aren't fire, but I can still sit on an SP Little Knight if I make it with the Mirage Stalio lockdown. But with fire, I can't even make this card. You don't have that kind of lockdown when using cards like Lady Debug or Code of Soul. But still, it doesn't happen as often, and most of the time, I just don't even go into the SP Little Knight play. If you didn't want to run this card, you could always put in the 3rd copy of Sunlight Wolf for that spot also, with the last of the extra deck being 1 copy of Mirage Stalio and the 1 Horse Prince. I like the Horse Prince because there are other ways. If we don't open up the Code of Soul, we can use the Tuner Weasel with one of our level 3s to then go into Horse Prince, and Horse Prince special summons 1 level 3 fire monster from your deck, so that can grab the Code of Soul from the deck as well. And as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, one of the better ones, as I'm a fan of, is with the Lady Debug setup. When it's summoned, or normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 3 or lower Cybers monster from your deck to your hand, so you can add your Code of Soul. And then from there, you can go for the Link play here. And this can search out and summon and set up your Salamangreat Battle Links. Battle Links will then add the field spell to your hand. You have the Link monster in the field needed for the requirements of Code of Soul, so you can then summon out your Code of Soul onto the field. And then from there, you have a Link 2 option. You can activate your Code of Soul, so you'll have the Reincarnation Link play to rely on as well. But then it also comes down with this next play as to what you may have in your hand to resolve the rest of the play. If you have a Salamangreat Circle, I recommend you activate it during the draw phase so you don't have the risk of Droll and Lockbird against your opponent, so you can at least have the Gazelle search and still get the search off of the initial Lady Debug beforehand. But then you'll have the extra Gazelle in your hand to rely on as well. So then you can go for the Link 2 play using the 2 monsters with the Code of Soul active. You will then go for your Link 2 play onto the field. So you'll go into your Sunlight Wolf. Then the Gazelle will be able to special summon from your hand. The activation of the Gazelle, which you don't have to place this yet by the Sunlight Wolf, you can activate the Gazelle, sending the Spinny to the graveyard. Then you can special summon the Spinny back from the graveyard, overlaying the 2 into your Mirage Stalio. Stalio can then detach 1 for this card's play of being able to special summon another monster to the field. With this play, once again, we're not restricted into any of our plays yet, but we can use this summon, if we wish, to go into Salamangreat Fire. Fire can then add the 1 of copy of Weasel to our hand as well. And then we can activate the Sunlight Wolf there, adding back the Gazelle to our hand. And then we can go for the special summon of Weasel onto the field. We can then activate the initial Code of Soul that we played, using it to send the Sunlight Wolf for the Reincarnation Link play. The Sunlight Wolf will then be able to add back the Circle to our hands. We've added back the Gazelle and the Circle. And then we can go for the initial Link 4 play, sending these 4 to the graveyard. Or you can go for 1 additional play for an extension. You can go with the Sunlight Wolf and the Salamangreat of Fire for a Promethean Princess, because then with Princess we can grab another Link monster back onto the field, and then use the Weasel and the Princess to be able to go into our Link 4 monster, which is our Raging Phoenix. The Weasel can activate as well to then summon the fire to our opponent's side of the field. I only recommend doing this as they're not playing Salamangreats. And then we can go for 1 additional summon with our Sanctuary that we haven't even activated yet. Activating the Sanctuary, we can then use the Raging Phoenix for our second Reincarnation Link summon play for the turn, activating it this time to search out a trap of choice with these cards as well. And then being able to use the initial summoning play, you have the option, if you want, to use your 4 monsters. So the Link 2 Sunlight Wolf, the 1 Raging Phoenix, and the Mirage Stalio for your Link 4 play to go into your Pyro Phoenix. Pyro Phoenix will then remain on the field. You can use the Mirage Stalio to bounce back the Salamangreat Fire from your opponent's field back to your hand. So these are the 4 cards you have in your field. You can then set the Roar and then pass turn to your opponent's turn, because then when your opponent's turn comes around during your main phase, they can have their board set up. You have the Code of Soul in the graveyard. So once they get a board that you want to destroy, you just banish the Code of Soul, going for the Link summon play during your opponent's turn, using the Pyro Phoenix, summoning out the Pyro Phoenix, and then its effect will activate, destroying all cards in your opponent's side of the field. If they try to interrupt this play, you have the Roar to prevent that. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Very happy with the results of getting Code of Soul. It opened up some new play styles to the deck to keep Salamangreat fresh for me, to keep using at locals, and entertain me for a little while longer. But as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.